why.
There was a sudden shift in the wind, and the fire department had to put more of an emphasis on protecting the southern edge of the blaze. That is the IDS. Firemen went to the roof and sprayed water down the IDS in order to prevent the windows from popping from the heat. The windows of the skyway between the two buildings were smashed to prevent smoke from entering the IDS. As for the bank building itself, closed tomorrow. President Jim Armstrong says customers can transact their business at other Northwestern branches.
Damage, as I understand from the fire department, was extensive on the 4th floor and up. However, the safety deposit vaults have not been affected, or the cash and security vaults have not been affected. So there's no damage in that area. Their accounts or any records concerning those customers should not be affected at all.
Dennis Bounce, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Minneapolis.
This is Lindsay Strand reporting. About the only people entering the Marquette Hotel tonight were the firemen. The 75 rooms filled with guests were safely evacuated about 5:30 when the intense heat from the flames caused some windows to break. By 7:30, the smoke-filled crystal court of the IDS had also been closed. And hotel guests who were here for the holidays said the fire was the last thing they were expecting.
We just happened to hear the noise and everything, and we were watching it out the window. And then they alarmed us to go downstairs.
Here I'm sitting in an ashtray. I've been sitting in ashtrays all evening trying to keep up. I'm diabetic, incidentally.
Oh, yes.
And that was the last thing that I did was, luckily, I grabbed my insulin and all the things that I need.
The guests from the Marquette were given rooms at the North Star Inn. All left the Marquette without their belongings, but North Star officials said they would be providing toothbrushes and doing all they could to make the night a comfortable one.
Because most downtown businesses were closed for the holiday, the evacuation went more smoothly than might have otherwise been expected. One of the biggest problems for the police has been to control the crowds of onlookers.
Even though authorities asked people to stay away from the fire, hundreds still insisted on getting a peek. Officials still ask for the safety of the onlookers and for the assistance of the firefighters that people do stay away from the scene. Lindsay Strand, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Minneapolis.
All right, we are live here once again at 6th and Nicollet in downtown Minneapolis. So this fire has been going now for about 5 hours, and despite the valiant efforts of the Minneapolis Fire Department, this fire seems to be taking a turn for the worse, at least on the Donaldson's end of it down here on the south side nearest the corner of Dayton's and the IDS building. Now, Deputy Chief Marshall Bush is with us. As you can see by his face, he's just back from the front lines. Chief, what's the latest down here?
Well, they're working on it in the bank building now. They're up on the upper floors and working on it. The old Donaldson complex, the fire has spread out into some other floors, clear through to 7th Street, and we're trying to contain it from the outside. We don't want to send crews inside. It's just we don't feel it's safe at this time.
The Northwestern National Bank building, we still can see fire coming out up there. Does not have a sprinkler system in it.
That's correct.
All right, and it's just too risky at this point then to send any of your men. And the Donaldsons, that's a total loss. There's nothing you can do to save them.
No, that's due to be tore down, and there's no point in risking anybody's life in there.
Well, Chief, you have more than 100 of your men out here tonight.
Yes,
they obviously left their Thanksgiving tables and came out here to fight. This is one tough fire, is it not?
It sure is.
All right, it's being described, in fact, by some officials as the worst fire in the history of downtown Minneapolis. Chief, thank you very much for your time indeed. Thank you. Cindy, the situation is obvious. The fire is still out of control in both these buildings. It is confined to the square block area. It looks like something like a World War II scene here, though. It's absolute destruction here. We'll be back to you later if there are some further developments.
Stan, quickly before you go, just to clarify a couple of points, are they looking for arsonists? We've heard reports of that throughout the evening.
Well, Cindy, the situation seems to be this. The arson squad has a report. There were 2 men spotted near the Donaldson area here just after the fire broke out, and apparently their conduct was somewhat suspicious. So apparently the arson squad has some description of them. They're now trying to find them, Cindy. That's all they'll tell us right now.
And secondly, any way to know what kind of shape Nicollet Mall is going to be in tomorrow for people who have to get downtown or want to go downtown?
It's going to be one big mess. We understand that only essential bank people, and I can't define for you what that would be. I would guess that most bank employees just won't be able to get near the place tomorrow. By the way, for you people with safety deposit boxes, we're told those are safe because the fire in the Northwestern National Bank building, Cindy, started about the 6th floor and went up. So the lower levels, including that Lindbergh Jenny aircraft, are apparently all right as far as we can tell from the outside here.
Right.
So, again, best that the people check with their employers first thing in the morning. As for commuters, try to avoid the area.
All right, and thank you so much, Tim. We'll be checking back with you later, give you
Very
a
good,
chance to
Cindy.
warm up a bit. In other news...
Last night and through much of the night to contain the blaze to the one-block area, which is bounded by Nicollet Mall to the west, 6th Street to the north, Marquette to the east, and 7th to the south. At least 9 firefighters were treated for minor injuries. One firefighter is hospitalized with chest pains, but amazingly, the injuries did not get any worse. Now, this is being called the most destructive fire ever in the history of downtown Minneapolis. Fire officials are now sure it began in the demolition site of the old Donaldson's building. Within 45 minutes, it spread to the upper floors of the adjacent Northwest Bank building and raged out of control for 12 hours until 5 o'clock this morning. More than 100 firefighters, many of them called in from off-duty, battled the blaze throughout the night. When the sun came up this morning, the fire was still smoldering. Clearly visible was the damage to the Northwest Bank building. The damage estimates are running as high as $30 million. Now, the Minneapolis Arson Squad has been investigating the fire since it began, checking out reports of suspicious people seen in the area and talking with eyewitnesses. But today, the investigators have talked with reporters and said the cause is, at this point anyway, 24 hours after the fire, still not known.
We're investigating a couple of different possibilities. We've got some street rumors that we're checking on that haven't really panned out. We've got a couple of different versions of statements that were made, but the information is enough so that we have to talk to these people and get it straight.
Now, the officials are right now trying to figure out why the Donaldson's fire reached such intensity so quickly. It was awfully fast, but they can explain it spreading to the bank building, the adjacent building. The high flames literally leaped into the upper floor windows of the bank, and radiant heat even ignited some of those office space above the 6th floor level as well. The skyways between the bank and 3 adjoining buildings received high marks. Those skyways did everything worked to prevent the spread of the fire and most of the smoke. Now, the 6th Street Skyway even stood up under the force of a collapsing wall. Well, business as usual. That's how the Northwestern Bank officials are describing their operations today, quite amazingly. Customers could still take care of their business at the Skyway Convenience Bank downtown or at any one of the bank's 6 branches.
Those facilities are fully operational. They can do anything in those facilities that they could do in the main branch downtown, so they should not be inconvenienced to any degree.
Well, that was possible because the computers which keep all of a modern bank's accounts, the machines that process the checks and transfer money from bank to bank, and the people who answer customer questions, all of those were housed in a different building, the operations center, which is 4 blocks away. There wasn't even any money stored in the parts of the old building that burned. And though no one was allowed into the old building today, bank officials also assured customers that anything that they've deposited in the safe deposit vault is also safe.
Whether people will be able to get in to their vaults on Monday really depends upon the structural soundness of the building.
Our money specialist, Dennis Moore, by the way, will have a full report on just how the bank is coping with this disaster. That'll be on the 6 o'clock edition of Eyewitness News. We might add here that the Faegre and Benson law firm, one of the largest firms in the Twin Cities area, occupied 4 floors of this Northwestern Bank building, floors that were gutted by this fire. The offices were destroyed, but a spokesman for Faegre and Benson said today that the firm has duplicate records in its computer banks of all important documents, so miraculously no problem there. They're looking for new office space, and they should be up and running again by Monday.
In the IDS Center, and he said 7th floor up, it's blown away. He said it's just totally gone, but it doesn't look like it. I don't know.
You think you might go to work on Monday if it isn't?
I hope so. I want to. I didn't expect the holiday to be like this.
Just some of the people affected today. Coming to work was unpleasant, even for those not burned out. They made their way down smoke-shrouded streets, and because barricades were blocking traffic in a 9-square-block area around the fire scene, they were often forced to park blocks away.
It's real treacherous walking down here, too. There's a lot of ice, from the water.
But ice-slick sidewalks or not, most downtown Minneapolis businesses were open, although most people who were down here early this morning came to take a first-hand look at what they'd only heard about and seen about on television. Some even armed with cameras to have their own personal record of the fire. Well, the fire, of course, as you might imagine, made downtown merchants fear for the very worst. They were afraid that shoppers would stay away today, stay away in droves from this particular part of town. And, of course, this is the day that is usually the biggest shopping day of the entire year. But that was not what happened at all. People flocked to the Nicollet Mall despite the heavy cloud of smoke and the bad smell in many of the stores. Many shoppers said the fire had no effect on their decision to shop here. Others were actually attracted by it. They wanted to have a look at the damage. By mid-afternoon, Dayton's reported that sales were up slightly from last year. One jewelry store in the IDS that managed to stay open said things weren't as bad as they expected.
A little bit quieter, but still busy. It's cold in the building because of the IDS has turned off the heat. But people are downtown, as you see on the mall.
So, Cindy, there you have it. That's as comprehensive a report as we can give you right now. You might be able to see that what's left of the old Donaldson's department store here looks like something on the order of the St. Paul Winter Carnival Ice Palace. So the water is freezing as they continue to pour water on the wreckage here. And, of course, they're trying to make sure nothing rekindles. The wrecking ball is at work, as we say, on the 6th Street side here, knocking down the rubble, part of the wall that is still standing on the north side. Cindy, of course, will have much more on this tonight on the 6 o'clock edition of Eyewitness News.